Hello, everyone. Good morning. Come on, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, let's wake up. There's coffee outside. So super excited to talk about the law of freedom. And we listen, the law of freedom. Oh, yeah, I think I heard of it. So it's good to dig a little bit deeper inside the moral laws because we hear about, but we don't really know what they are. There are 10 laws. So we are going to be reading and studying about one. And when we talk about the law of freedom here in the Spirit Center is really good because we all share the same beliefs, the same points that we want to go through. We can all freely talk about reincarnation, communicability with the spirits, mediumship, and nobody else is like, oh, she's crazy. So sometimes I love to talk about spiritism everywhere, but nowadays I learn not to impose spiritism in my co-workers anymore, especially in my co-workers. So when they ask, I talk, but I try to control myself. But here we don't need that. Here we can freely talk about it. So let's start. To talk about the law of freedom, we need to understand a little bit about the divine law or the natural law. So what is it? So we can see here, eternal, immutable, perfect, equal for all. It is inserted in the conscience of man and it is revealed in all times according to man's capacity of understanding. So this is the concept of the divine law, the natural law, that we are all inserted. And this law works for all of us, all the time. And what it is the addition of the moral laws and the physical laws. So moral laws and physical laws, this is the divine or natural law. So we can see the physical laws, they relate to physics, to the physical items that we are all inserted when we are incarnated here on earth. Chemistry, biology, and everything else. These are the laws of physics, the physical laws. But we are going to be really talking about the moral laws. So the moral laws, they are related to man and God, and man and other man. Man and God, the relation between us and God. How do we deal with God? What do we think God is? How do we relate ourselves? And also, man and other man, how is our relationship in society, in a family, in the Spirit Center, with our co-workers? This is all related to moral laws. In the Spirit's book, part 3, we have the 10 moral laws. The first one, the law of worship. Worship as our relation with God. The law of work is the necessity that we all have to work. So when we work, we are progressing. The law of reproduction. So we will have more babies, like this one coming here. More spirits reincarnating, continue populating our planet. The law of preservation. We understand that our life is very important. We have to learn how to preserve ourselves. The law of destruction, it's also a law, and it's very important for us to study it, to understand even destruction, that sometimes when it happens, we got all desperate that this is so terrible. Yes, it is terrible, but nothing happens by a chance, and God knows everything, so we will understand better. The social law, that's the law that relates to all of us. How can we live better and evolve faster in a society? The law of progress. We understand we are always progressing. Every single time, every reincarnation, we are progressing. Even if sometimes we didn't use very well our reincarnation, we made some mistakes, but we do not digress, we do not regress. We become stagnant or progressing, hopefully progressing. The law of equality. We are all equal. We were all born naked and we will die naked. We get different when we are alive, but we are absolutely equal. If you take a millionaire and a poor person and take their clothes, they are exactly the same. So we are the ones in society who put these barriers. And we are going to talk today about the law of freedom, and sometimes it's mentioned the law of liberty. And the 10th law, the law of justice, love, and compassion. This law is actually a summary of all the previous laws together. So if you have time, read about it. And read to understand a little bit of each one and to see how important they are. But to start, we have to talk about freedom and about free will. They are a little bit different. So in the Webster's Dictionary, the definition of freedom it's a very big definition, I just took a little bit. The quality, state of being free, absence of necessity, coercion, constraint in chance or action. So this is what defines what freedom is. It's the absence of necessity, coercion, constraint in a choice or in an action. You are free to do something. That's the definition of freedom. But we have to think, are men totally free? Totally free? The personal freedom goes until the right of another person starts. So let's talk here about a simple example. Music and parks, for example. This happened a lot in New York because I lived there for so many years. So I always went to the park. We didn't have a beach to go like really close, so we went to the park. And let's imagine if this is a little piece of Central Park. So we are here in Central Park, sunny day. We are all super excited because it's not like in Florida that's every day sunny and super hot. There is just July and August. So I go there with a bunch of friends that all are similar to me. They all like what I like. And if you know me a little bit more, you know I love samba. So I go to Central Park with my boombox and I go to this corner because we want to respect the others. So we come to this corner with my boombox, samba, and we're all like dancing, respecting the others. But we decided to put the music a little bit louder because samba low is like doesn't exist. It's like a little weird. So we put louder, and we are a lot of people. So we are all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then comes Susanna. I don't know Susanna. Susanna comes, and she goes to the other corner with all her friends. And Susanna likes rock and roll. I don't even know if you like rock and roll, but she likes rock and roll. So Susanna goes to the corner with rock and roll and all the group. And rock and roll also needs to be a little bit louder. But she is with her group there. So she puts loud music, rock and roll, and it's like, we can't really hear the samba well, so we put a little bit louder, and she puts a little bit louder, so we are all like, and then comes the yoga group. And then the yoga group listens all that noise and like, oh my God, we need a lot of Zen meditation. So they go a little bit further to the end of the space. And they are there trying to meditate, trying to do yoga. I think it's a little bit impossible. So can you just imagine the situation in this piece of Central Park, how the tension is going to start growing? Are we all exercising our freedom? We are not interfering in each other a lot because we didn't go there to complain. But you can just feel the tension in the air. Just imagine this possible situation. And when you think about it, you start like, is it a nice situation? I'm really exercising my piece of a law of freedom. Well, as it said here, are men totally free? Well, just to think about this, you already think about the law of society. So we have to respect someone else. So if this was not Central Park, if this was just this empty room, then we could think, oh, so here I could put loud music because I am totally alone. Let's suppose I'm totally alone. Then I can put my loud music. Can I? Can I? I'm asking a question. You guys look at me like, I'm not supposed to say anything. Yes. No, you still cannot put your loud music here because you don't know if there is someone that lives upstairs or lives downstairs or you're going to be interfering. So the law of freedom is limited. You have to think if you are invading the situation of someone else. So you have to learn how to respect it. This is very important. We will talk a little bit more about it. So free will. The ability to choose how to act or how to make choices that are not controlled by fate or God. So they are not controlled by fate or God. So free will is your own power. You will make the decision. It's not controlled by God. It's not controlled by fate. It's controlled by you and by your own conscience. So that's why we all have our own free will and we will make decisions. Of course, God supervises everything, but in that moment, He allows us, our guardian angels, they allow us to make decisions, to make mistakes or not. But even like that, we are never alone. We are always with our guardian angels, very close to us, trying to guide us the best way possible, but they do not impose anything. That's why we have the free will. So I decide to forgive or to die hating someone. So I will use my free will here. So someone made a terrible thing against me, really, really bad. I am dying right now. And I will decide I am going to die hating this person, or I will decide to forgive this person because I also made mistakes. This is our free will, our conscience. We will decide it. And then another example, I decide to face consequences of my wrongdoings or to commit suicide. Let's imagine I did something extremely horrible that's going to affect the life of hundreds of people. And I'm really ashamed of what I did. And now I am in that situation. And I'm going to really face the consequences of my wrong acts, or I'm going to try a quick escape, for example, suicide. I'm not saying that, please, that in a situation like that, anyone is going to think about suicide, but this is what we have seen in history. Like, sometimes it's not even bad. Sometimes the person is really disturbed. The boyfriend just left her for someone else, and then she decides to kill herself because there is nothing else in life. What is a huge mistake because there are millions of other handsome guys outside there, and she's just blind. So what we are saying is that these are situations that we can exercise our free will in a good way or in a not that good way. And we have here St. Paul of Tarsus. And then he said, everything is possible, but not everything is lawful. So we can do whatever we want, but there are consequences. So we have to be careful. Whatever I want, I am allowed to do, but then I will have to face the consequences of whatever I have done. And then we have our Master Jesus, and he says, the truth will set you free. The truth. This truth here has many, many meanings. But let's imagine the truth will set you free. Let's imagine I did something really bad and nobody knows. It's a secret. It's a big secret. It's my secret. No one knows it, only me. A lot of people know what happened, but they don't know I am the one who did it. So in the book Thought and Life, we studied a few weeks ago a chapter that's called guilt. And guilt is what happens when something happens And nobody knows, but you know, and your conscience start like making you sick. So you start getting sick, you start getting physically sick, mentally disturbed, because you know you did something that was not good. Nobody knows, but you know. So you start feeling really bad about it. And some people, they live their whole life like this. They die with this. But then when they arrive in the spiritual realm, they realize how bad was that, how disturbed they got because of this. So when Jesus said the guilt, the truth will set you free, yes, when you talk about it to someone, for example, there will be consequences. Sometimes there will be harsh consequences, but it will set you free. You will feel that pain in that moment, but your conscience will be free of that guilt. And then you will be able to overcome it. But if you never talk about it, then there is a problem. There is the pain. But we can also imagine the truth as God, because God is everything. So when we really connect with God and we understand that everything that's happening here is under God's supervision, our big mother and father that always wants the best for us, then the things get a little bit calmer. But it does not remove your free will. So don't think that everything that happens is because of God, because you have your important portion there that you have to be careful and take the good decisions. So now we're going to talk a little bit about freedom in history. So here you have a peasant family. So in the past, if you were the son of a peasant, you didn't have a lot of options to grow in society. You would continue being the son of a peasant, and your children, your grandchildren, they would inherit that. So they would all be like peasants. And then we have here iron workers, the same exactly thing. The difference is that iron workers is a position that was a higher position in society. And we have women. So, women. What was the freedom of women in that time? Her life was dictated by her father. Whatever the father wanted, that's what was going to happen to this woman. Then, if the father dies, her brother, he will be dictating her life. She doesn't have a brother, she marries the husband. Always the male figure will be dictating what she will have to do. And then everybody died, then she has a son. Now the son dictates what she has to do. Oh my God, very tough life. And that was the type of freedom. Of course, we have to think about which period of history you're talking about. But then, imagine this other period. Slaves. What freedom slaves had? Absolutely none. And it's really tragic when we think that in that time, people were sold like pieces of furniture, like animals. They were treated like animals, and everyone thought it was normal. Took centuries to people start thinking, well, little strange, and why do we do this to them? How was that possible? So this was a very dark period in history, a lot of pain. Then we have another time here, 1789, the French Revolution. So the French Revolution came in a time that there was a lot of darkness, because the rich monarchs, they had everything. They were rich and powerful, and most of the population, especially there in that time in France, they were starving, and they had absolutely nothing. So they all start getting together, and we have to do something because this oppression is too big. So the people overthrew the monarchy to bring liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. To all. But killing thousands during the terror years. So in 10 years, between 1789 and 1799, thousands of people were killed because of freedom, equality, and fraternity. So this demonstrates a bad usage of fight for freedom. Yes, to remove the monarchs and put the people there, it was really good. But the only thing happened is that, like some of us, when we get a little bit of power, we just go crazy. We don't know how to control ourselves, and that's what happened. So they start killing a lot of people, so they lost all the beautiful message of liberty, equality, and fraternity, even if, because of this, life became so much better, and so many improvements came afterwards. But here is also a message that Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa, he was talking about in the time that he lived in South Africa, that the blacks and whites, they walked on the same streets, but as soon as they went in a bus, they had to have different doors. They went in a building, they had to have different doors. They had to have different churches. Everything was separate. And then they rebelled themselves. They didn't want this to happen. But then they had Nelson Mandela, who was really a pacifist. And he didn't want the population to go into arms. So Desmond Tutu didn't go to jail. He stayed outside, calming the people, saying they had to do a revolution in a peaceful way. Very similar to what happened in India, where our, my God, what's his name? Gandhi, thank you so much, my portable memory. When Gandhi was able to free India from the England oppression and without a war. So it's more or less what he wanted, and that's what happened. So this is how we have to do a good usage of our free will. So the law of freedom. I got information from all these books. The main book is the Spirit's book, that you have all the laws, but it's very important for you also to read the chapter 11. Love one neighbor as oneself. Be perfect. Without charity, there is no salvation. And here's the book that I mentioned. I took pieces from the chapter Assistance, Humility, and Tolerance, but I just spoke about guilt. And this book is in Portuguese, Segue em Harmonia. So it was the chapter 11, The Real Freedom. So this is where I got all the information. So let's talk about social media that Susanna just mentioned. Social media nowadays is like this. You know, social media was created for us to meet our friends from high school, friends that live in Europe, friends when we were kids, and it's so super cool. We share our pictures, hey. But it's like sometimes it's really tough. It's really difficult, especially when times of election is coming. Oh my God. That's when it gets super, super hard. It got hard here too, you know, in the time of Trump and Hillary. I saw best friends started like screaming at each other on Facebook publicly to everybody to see. And then best friends, no, they are not best friends anymore. Nowadays they hate each other. And this also is happening in Brazil. With all the political confusion, I love this man, oh, I hate this man. So we need to really pay attention to how we're going to use our law of freedom in social media. We have to start practicing assistance, humility, and tolerance. Tolerance is very important. The law of freedom allows you to talk about whatever you want on Facebook, for example. But it's not really good that you're going to start imposing whatever you want on someone else, especially when it's all public like this. It's very different than when you invite your friend who likes the opposite candidate and you talk. in private or in an email or even in a WhatsApp. But when you are on Facebook and everybody, oh, did you see what she said? Oh my God, no, you have to see what he answered. And then it's like hundreds of people all paying attention, even if they are not talking, but they are all paying attention. And can you imagine the level of tension, the level of negativity? So control yourself and use these three when you are posting whatever on social media. So are we free right now? I already said about that, but the spirits tell us there is no absolute freedom. Only if you are totally alone. And totally alone, really. He talks about the eremit in the desert. That's the example. He said, if you are eremit in the desert, you are absolutely free. Well, the spirits will be with you. But you are totally free. If you want to be doing whatever, it's possible. But when you have another person with you, let's suppose here Adam and Eve. We know they were not the only people on earth, okay? It's just like a figurative example. But even Adam and Eve, they had to respect the right of the other person. Because the law of freedom is also very connected with the law of respect for each other. And then we have, again, this piece of slavery. So the spirits, they say slavery is an abuse of power. Yes, we know it. And it will disappear in the future. Why I say in the future? You're going, oh, slavery is finished. No. Slavery, maybe this type of slavery, if you're thinking, it's finished. But there are so many different types of slavery nowadays in different countries that you have no idea. Children are being sold in many places. Women are sold into prostitution. And what about the people in countries? They are obligated to work 12, 14 hours a day because the salary is so minimum that they cannot even eat. And you say, but this is not slavery, this is work. That's the only job they can get. And most of the people only can get that. So it's almost a slavery. So think about it. But one day, it will disappear because the law of progress. We are always getting better and better. And freedom of thought or conscience. So look at this picture here. You are writing B, but your head is saying A. So why are you doing this? We don't know. Maybe pressure, peer pressure, like I was telling my son in high school, peer pressure, be careful. We don't know why, but be careful. What are you doing? Because unlimited freedom of thought. Yes, unlimited. You think whatever you want, but God knows it all. So learn how to improve it. We can think whatever we want. It's already a little bit better than saying, imagine, in the past, we act, we evolved, we say bad things, and we evolve, and now we think bad things. But hopefully, one day, we will not even think bad things anymore because we will be all love, respect, forgiveness. So the freedom of thought is very related, depends a lot. What about the freedom of conscience? That's what I was talking about before. Your conscience is your judge. Would you like this to happen to you, something bad? Would you like that something really bad happened to you? Most of us know. So would you like to do this to someone else? So be careful. If you don't want something for you, don't think about doing it to someone else, because a guilty conscience needs no accuser. That's what I explained before. What about the free will and fatalism? I already said free will. You have the power to decide you want to go left and you want to go right. Only you. Look at this funny example. The little cat is thinking, who am I kidding? He wrote a resolution. Resolution, I will not scratch the couch. So he wrote it. It's like us, like in the New Year's, I will go into the gym and I will make a diet, I will lose 10 pounds. The day you are all excited, yeah, that's it. And passes like a few weeks and you're like, forget about it. That's exactly what the cat is doing. But he's already like saying, I have no willpower. I will scratch the couch. But we know that resisting a temptation gives merit to the spirit. So each time we resist something negative, we are building our muscles. Even if there are spiritual muscles, but we are building our muscles. And then we can go to the gym also, okay? But let's build our spiritual muscles. Now, fatalism. The spirits say that the only fatalism is death. So, I hope you all know, but we are all gonna die. All. No one's gonna escape here. So, this is the fatalism. We are all gonna die. But how, when? This is all different. So the spirits choose their trials. We choose our trials. When we go to the spiritual realm, we choose, okay, what are my issues? This. And then your guardian angel or the spirits that are there helping you to your reincarnation, they give you options. And then they give you many options and you can choose which one you think is good. They allow you to have free will to choose it. But we have to know that certain trials are riskier than others. So if my issue is violence, if I'm a very violent person and I choose a reincarnation that I will be put in situations that the violence is normal, I will be in a family that's very violent, I will marry a very violent man, so it's very risky. But if I chose that, it's because I think I'm very in control of my acts. But certain situations are riskier than others. So no one is predestined to commit a crime. So even Jude, the apostle of Jesus, a lot of people say, oh, but Jesus chose Judas to go to be his apostle because he was going to be the one who was going to denounce him to the Romans. No, it's not true. It's not true. Jesus knew the capacity of each one of their disciples, and he knew Judas was the one that was weakest, but he could have used well his free will. So he was not put there to commit a crime. He used badly his free will. Vision of death. Could it be your guardian angel preparing you? So, yes, a lot of people say, oh, there is even a video of a famous group in Brazil that the guy, before taking the plane, he said, oh, I dreamed that if the plane fell, ha, 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 ha. And then he went and boom, the plane fell. But it could be the guardian angel preparing you. Your time is coming. Be prepared. You only die when your hour arrived. So in that plane, you take a plane, and it's not your time. I'm sure your guardian angel tried so much to make you late for this flight, and the tire of your car exploded, but you managed this miracle in Miami traffic to arrive in the airport. And you took the plane, and the plane fell, and everybody died. But it's not your time, so you are not going to die. And this is not fatalism. This is because your time didn't reach the period yet. And don't think like, oh, October 20 will be the day I die, because it's not like that. They don't plan a day. It's a period of time. You don't know which month, but maybe in that period of time, that's when your time is coming. But we also know that some people get an extension. If you're doing something really good, you can get an extension and stay. What about the foreknowledge of the future? So imagine if we could know the future. Imagine if right now we all got a message from a medium and he said, I see here that you're going to get $10 million next week. What would you do? I'm sure nothing really good. Because we would neglect the present, and we're not going to make any effort. Imagine, I know I'm going to get $10 million next week. I will quit work. I will start using my credit card. I will start donating money. Yeah! And then maybe I had to do certain things, like buying the lottery tickets, to be able to get millionaire. And I forgot. I didn't buy it, so I will not get the $10 million. So we could neglect our present, or we can prevent something from happening. So I know I'm going to lose $10 million. So I will remove the money and I will put underneath my mattress, because I will try to prevent. So knowing the future is something that's really never positive for us, but there are exceptions. Like, for example, in this case, that Divaldo Franco, when he was very young, he had a vision that he was in a place that he was visiting with hundreds of kids. So this was like a message for him, telling him, you will be here working with these kids. So every time someone can see something, is something positive and something useful. And here, this book, that's the first book I showed, that's in Portuguese, Follows Harmony. And this book was written by Joana de Angelis, psychographic by Divaldo. And I took this piece from the chapter because it's really beautiful. She says, true freedom is established in the intimate, in your intimacy, within you. When one struggles to overcome egoism, responsible for social, moral, and behavioral vices. So egoism is responsible for this, for social, moral, behavioral vices. This internal revolution will provide plenitude and fullness. So when we, within ourselves, are able to overcome egoism, when we start thinking about the others exactly like about us, when we don't think just like, oh, I will do good to my son, I will do good to my mother. When we start thinking, I have to do good to everyone, then we are going to be really fighting this. We are going to be fighting all of this. And we will be evolving. And it's not just to one person, but when most of us start fighting together, we will be evolving as a society, as human beings, and then as a group of people. And that's what will happen. That's what is happening now. Imagine us, it's Sunday morning, sunny, beautiful Florida with South Miami Beach. We could be doing whatever. But we are here trying to improve ourselves, trying to understand a little bit better, trying to be a little bit better. So soon it's going to start happening to a lot of more people, even if they are not religious. We mention religiosity, philosophies of life, because usually people who are connected to this are more open to be more charitable, to respect other people. They are usually better of heart because they are more prepared. But there are people also that are not religious at all, are actually materialistic, but they still have the soft point in their hearts, and they are also evolving. And every time you need to do some kind of charitable project, you ask that person, the person is the first one to say yes. But if you invite the person to come, the spirit is, no, don't come with these things. No. So we have to respect. We are all different. But if we are all doing good to someone, that's already a blessing. And we have here Leon Denis. Leon Denis is tough. You know, the way he talks sometimes can be a little bit difficult to understand. But this new translation is really good. So if you can buy his books, it's really, really nice. I took a little tiny piece, and he says, the spirit will be prepared for freedom when man in general, follows the law without coercion from the authorities. And when this happens to the individual, but also to the community, the people are free only when they learned to obey the moral law that does not emanate from the power of someone, but from God. And this is a beautiful sentence that Leon Denis says. So the people in general, the society in general, they will be really prepared to freedom when there is no coercion, when there is no authority imposing respect, for example. But when we respect in a natural way, let's go back to Central Park with the samba and rock and roll and yoga. So when we are a bit more developed, I will learn. When I'm alone with my friends playing samba, that's wonderful. As soon as another group of people come, they are not really doing part of my group, I will have to learn naturally how to respect. I will lower my music, or I will go further. But until we are able to develop this conscience, that problem will happen. Loud samba, loud rock and roll, and the poor people trying to do yoga because they are more advanced than us. We are still like... But whenever this happens, without the coercion of the authorities, that's when really the community is evolving. And this will happen soon. So here is the summary. Here is everything I said. So the summary of the divine forces behind human actions. So we need to deal with free will, education, and the spirits that could be good or could be not that good. So education here, free will, you have to understand that this is all related also to the spiritual realm when we are discarnated. Because when we are discarnated, we are now in a spiritual beach. We are really studying. We go to schools. We learn. We have to learn so we can come back here and be a little bit better prepared. So free will in spiritual state and physical state. So in the spiritual state, we have what I mentioned before, the choice of trials. We choose what we will be facing. And in the physical state, we will be in that situation. We will be living that difficulty that we chose. Then education. The education shapes our intelligence. So education shapes our intelligence. We get a little bit more intelligent day by day. But as you know, there are many different types of intelligence, not just the mathematical. But we have learned of so many different types of intelligence. Even a book that's very, very old was called, what was called? Oh my God, I forgot the name of the intelligence here, but it's not spiritual intelligence, is a new one. There is another one I have to remember and tell you. But it's a type of intelligence that connects people. You are not intelligent mathematically speaking, but you are intelligent to be able to connect people in a more emotional, yes! Oh my God, today I really need portable memory. Thank you. Emotional intelligence. There are lots of lectures of the author that you can see about the emotional intelligence. So the education also combats our bad tendencies. And this is very important. It's very important. If a kid is very rebellious, the mother and father are the ones who have to control them when they are little. So when they start going to school to learn more, they will be better behaved. This is all depend on us. And the good spirits. The good spirits, they help us, they guide us, they inspire us to resist all these issues. And the bad spirits, or the not very evolved spirits, they try to convince us to commit all kinds of problems. They try to tell us to do the temptations that we are really studied for not doing, to commit crimes, abuse, violence, drugs. This is what the not evolved spirits want. They could be called obsessors, negative. But we are never alone, so the guardian angels are right there helping us to not do it. So that situation that you have a positive idea and a negative idea, yes, this is possible. And then you will use your free will to decide. After you go through all this, you will be here, incarnated here is on earth. That's a school of reincarnation. And if you fought the bad tendencies, the temptations, crimes, abuse, you will go here. If you failed, you will go here. So if you fought, you improved. You are happier. You improved. And even if it's a little bit, but when we go to the spiritual realm and we improved a little bit, it is such a beautiful sensation. But if you failed, that's what I mentioned in the beginning, you get stagnant because we do not regress, we do not digress. We get stagnant. But God is good, and we will come back. We will have a new incarnation. We will have a new opportunity to go through all this again and hopefully evolving. And now I want to show you this very little video, 1 minute, and I want you to imagine these two beings here, Adam and Eve, and then you will see children dressed in white. Think about that children like us. We are that children, and that children is being thrown everywhere by all kinds of situations, by the dark spirits trying to influence that children, us, to take certain decisions, and it's very difficult. But let's see what happens. Can you turn off the light, please? Oops. How do I do this? These words written in Portuguese were not written by me, but I can translate. Manipulation. And we are there, the children in white. So the spirits use people, influence people, and we try to escape. Sometimes it's hard. But the good will prevail. We are always with our guardian angels, and God, above all, is always with us, guiding and protecting. And this group of people that went to this American show is actually a Brazilian group of people, and they won this competition. So it was very, very beautiful. So this was the talk for today. If you have any questions, we still have 5 minutes.